For a while, vitamin D was the golden child of micronutrients, credited not only with building strong bones, but also whispered about in studies linking it to cancer prevention, immune regulation, and even longer life. Then came the headlines claiming it could protect the heart. Could this humble sunshine vitamin actually lower your risk of dying from cardiovascular disease? The science, as it turns out, is both promising and maddeningly complex. Let's start with the observation that kicked off the conversation. People with low levels of vitamin D seem to have higher rates of heart disease, hypertension, and stroke. This has been shown in multiple large observational studies across different populations. On the surface, it looks like a simple correlation: low vitamin D, higher cardiovascular risk. It even makes intuitive sense. Vitamin D receptors are found in the heart, in the lining of blood vessels, and in the immune cells that drive inflammation. So, shouldn't topping up your vitamin D levels be a direct route to a healthier heart? Well, not so fast. Observational studies are like dating profiles. They tell you who hangs out with whom, but they don't necessarily reveal what's going on behind closed doors. People with low vitamin D levels might also have other risk factors for heart disease. They may be older, less physically active, have poorer diets, or spend less time outside. These confounding factors make it hard to know whether low vitamin D causes cardiovascular problems or just tags along with them. Still, there's growing biological evidence suggesting that vitamin D may have direct effects on cardiovascular function. For starters, it appears to play a role in regulating the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, RAS, the same hormonal cascade targeted by many blood pressure medications. Vitamin D suppresses renin production, which may help keep blood pressure from spiraling upward. In animal studies, vitamin D deficiency leads to overactive RAS, which in turn promotes hypertension, left ventricular hypertrophy, and fluid retention. Sounds suspiciously like heart failure. Vitamin D may also influence arterial stiffness, which is an early marker of vascular aging and a major predictor of cardiovascular events. Some small clinical studies have found that supplementation can reduce arterial stiffness, at least in people who were deficient to begin with. Other research suggests vitamin D may reduce vascular inflammation and improve endothelial function, the ability of blood vessels to dilate properly, a critical factor in preventing atherosclerosis. Then there's the immune angle. Chronic inflammation plays a central role in cardiovascular disease, and vitamin D has well-documented anti-inflammatory properties. It modulates immune cell activity, promotes regulatory T cells, and dampens the kind of low-grade systemic inflammation that quietly erodes blood vessel health over decades. So far, so good. But here's where things get messy. Large randomized clinical trials, the gold standard of medical evidence, haven't shown a clear benefit of vitamin D supplements in preventing heart attacks or cardiovascular deaths. The VITAL trial, one of the largest of its kind, found no significant reduction in major cardiovascular events among people taking 2,000 IU of vitamin D per day compared to placebo, even though participants were generally healthy and followed for over 5 years. Does this mean the whole vitamin D heart link is a myth? Not necessarily. One important caveat: most people in these trials already had adequate vitamin D levels at baseline. If you give vitamin D to people who aren't deficient, you're not likely to see dramatic improvements. It's like adding oil to an engine that isn't running low. It doesn't make it run better. It just makes you feel proactive. But in people who are truly deficient, especially those with very low levels of 25-OH-D below 20 nanograms per milliliter, supplementation may still offer cardiovascular benefits. These individuals often aren't the majority in large trials, which may explain the diluted findings. Some subgroup analyses suggest a modest benefit in these high-risk groups, but the data aren't yet strong enough to form universal guidelines. So where does that leave us? In a place that's frustratingly familiar, stuck between intriguing biological plausibility and underwhelming clinical outcomes. We can say this with some confidence: vitamin D deficiency is a marker of poor health and, in some cases, may be a contributing factor. But supplementing vitamin D isn't a magic bullet, especially if you're not deficient to begin with. If you're concerned about your heart, vitamin D should be part of the conversation, but not the only one. Lifestyle factors like diet, exercise, sleep, stress, and blood pressure control still carry the heavy load. That said, for people at risk of deficiency, especially those living in northern climates, people with darker skin, the elderly, or anyone who avoids sun exposure. Getting a simple vitamin D blood test and correcting low levels may be a cheap, safe, and sensible strategy. In the end, the heart and vitamin D have a complicated relationship, maybe not a full-blown romance, but certainly more than a casual fling. Whether it's a myth or a medical fact depends on who you are, how deficient you are, and what else is going on in your body. But dismissing the connection entirely? That would be premature and possibly even dangerous.